Hello, this is vlog 7 for a project for a social change. So, already at week 8, so that's actually pretty insane for my freshman year. Um, I believe it's 9, and that's early. It's really, really early. Anyway, so, for this vlog, I wanted to talk about two things. I want to talk about one of the videos that we saw last week, which was, I can't remember it too well. I've been trying to look for it, and I couldn't find it, but I kind of remember a bit of it, and it was about college and and how maybe it's a privilege, or some people thought it was a privilege, some people thought it was a right. The person who was speaking in the video thought it was thought it was a privilege, and I found that interesting, and how she was kind of she she was kind of forced and brought up with the idea that she was going to have to go to college. There wasn't any other idea not to. And I'm gonna talk about my kind of experience, which was almost the opposite. There were, well, kind of the same twists and turns. Um, and then there was a reading about what's it called? I have it right here. Privilege, oppression, and difference, which I'm also going to talk about. So first with college, um, when I started out, kind of midway through high school, beginning of high school, both of my brothers were in college. They were both going to the same school, and then my oldest brother eventually kept moving downwards on the scale, um, from, or at least how I see it, from going to a state college to a community college to a lower community college, and then stopping altogether. And and to me, this was really confusing. Not just because he kept changing his major, and then he just stopped caring altogether. He's back in college now. He's going to nearby, actually a really good college. But it was weird to kind of see that change. So that sort of influenced me in the sense that, like, how can college not be this good? You know, like he's studying what he wants. You know, like he changed his major a lot, but he's studying what he wants. So why isn't he finding it interesting anymore? Why isn't he passionate about it anymore? And I noticed that part of it was he really loved his band. He really loved playing music, and it's weird because we both really love playing music. So when I saw this, I was wondering, I was kind of thinking about just playing music because that's what I love, and kind of working. But I'll get into that later. The next part is that my my middle brother, he went to Cal State LA, but he was always trying. He was finding a lot of problems, just trying to get classes, and it was amazing because he it was one of the things that he just kept complaining about. He's like, oh, I can't find this class. You know, I need to get it in order for me to kind of further my education. That way, I can get to my higher level classes for engineering. And I found that really interesting. I'm like, what's going on with the school systems around here? And my parents always thought that I was going to go to college, but the thing is that even though there was an expectation to, the pushing was, or there wasn't really any pushing at all. It was mostly all on me. Um, so I thought that was kind of interesting too. Um, so when it came down to it last spring, I was on the verge of actually not going to college. I was actually not going to graduate, and this was like the scariest moment of my life, because I'm a straight, or I'm an A B student, mostly high A, or kind of low A, high B sort of area. So I always did really good, at least in that area. And this time, math was my greatest enemy. was my greatest enemy, because it was pre-calculus and I couldn't understand the teacher and everything was all sorts of confusing. So and also just a lot of different family stuff that was going on at home. My parents were thinking of splitting. Um, I almost thought for a second that my mom was cheating on my dad, and and just kind of everything was hitting me at once. My friend attempted suicide. Um, there It was a really hectic time. It was a really emotional time, and in the midst of all this, I was doing a retreat where I had to talk about how my life was going and how there was hope for everyone when they got out of high school and that they were going to go somewhere, and I was confused. I didn't know where I was going. Everything in my life was kind of in shambles, and it got really crazy, and I somehow pulled it together. But in the midst of that, I was like, I'm not going to college. I'm just gonna quit. Screw it. I'm gonna go play music. I'm gonna go play my bass. I'm gonna go find my friend, and we're gonna go to Seattle or we're gonna stay in LA, and we're gonna play music, and I'm gonna find a part-time job, and it's gonna be awesome. And and I passed with in pre-calculus with a C, like the only C that I ever got in high school. So that was weird. And I came here, and the only reason why I bring this up is because I thought that this was a big difference from the girl who was talking in the video, because she talked about how she was always brought up with the idea of going to school and how that was just a major thing in her life. And I thought that was interesting because I towards the end I had almost the adverse effect, and I was really thinking of dropping out. Like I was having everything packed. I didn't even tell my parents because I mean they were fine, but it was it was yeah, it was almost the adverse effect. Next one I'm going to talk about is the power of difference and discrimination, privilege, oppression, and difference. My bad. Um, so it's funny because I usually talk about how I ignored people and I felt that they made me feel outcasted, when in the sense that I made myself feel outcasted. In this article, it kind of talks about how people use ignorance, and due to that ignorance, they're able to not care about what people or who people are, what they do, and kind of that whole thing. And it was my ignorance to think that this school isn't worth it, or that this school means nothing to me, and that they're privileged to have me here, and that I could give less of a crap for any of the students that are here. And because of that, I didn't get to know a lot of people on a deeper basis until senior year, and that was my fault. That wasn't their fault. They tried to reach out to me, and I pushed them away. So I thought that was interesting because it was my fear of actually being or part of it was being rejected because I was in a closet in an all Catholic high school, but but most of it was just me feeling that they weren't ready for me, and that they didn't deserve me. So it's weird when when you kind of think of it in that way, when the minority is actually making himself kind of left out. I don't know. I found that funny. Anyway, this is my end of the vlog because I'm already hitting 9 minutes, and I must be rambling or going just talking a bit too much or too tired and thinking that my words are too eloquent, but they're not eloquent, and this is just a huge rant. Anyway, this is the end of the vlog. Bye bye.